Hey everybody. I'm going to go over a few of the books that I've been reading. This is like a super common question that I get asked, like whenever I do a Q&A or anything. It's do you have any book recommendations? What books are you reading right now? What would you consider your top, books? And I just thought I would reserve like a whole video just for this. And also, since I've graduated, it's become a lot easier for me to just like read lots and lots of books, and I've also been revisiting some books. It really is useful for both the research process and generating new ideas. So I'm going to go over probably a fairly large amount of them. I can't really cover them all, and I haven't finished some of them also, so I can't really give like a accurate review. Before that, I'll introduce you to the sponsor of this video. Although people say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, I tend to choose books with really nice cover designs. External appearances can matter a lot, and for myself that means maintaining a good skincare routine. That's why I'm excited to have Tish Hanley as the sponsor of today's video. They've helped me start and maintain my skincare routine by making the entire process pretty uncomplicated. Honestly, it's the best skincare system for people like me who aren't very aware of skincare. I recommend you start with their level 1 system, which comes with all the basics. A daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin, benefits including less dry skin and softer and smoother skin, a 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of dead skin cells, an AM moisturizer with SPF 20, and a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. My favorite part about Tish Hanley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. Their products have made my skin look and feel better than ever, but you don't have to just take my word for it. They have over 5,000 5-star reviews on their website from satisfied customers from around the world. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tish Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, pause or cancel at any time, and free US shipping and low-cost shipping to most other countries. So seriously, stop hesitating. This isn't something you want to put off because prevention is key. Get ahead of any signs of aging now, and your future self will thank you. And because Tish Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers a great deal. Just click the first link in the description and you'll get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. Don't miss out on this amazing deal. Click that link and get started today. Okay, so we're going to start with my big pile right here with Bruno Latour, After Lockdown, A Metamorphosis. This book, I was gifted it during Christmas, and it really took me by surprise. I don't really know that much about Bruno Latour. I know that he recently passed away. He's a French philosopher, and his main points in this book I found very refreshing. They mostly revolve around the idea that us being in lockdown was very similar to Gregor in Kafka's Metamorphosis, and we kind of have metamorphosized, transformed into not really humans, but now we're kind of terrestrials. We're kind of like a different creature, and this has certain kind of political implications. We've become a lot more aware of the fact that we're all kind of interconnected. So he distinguishes between heterotrophs and autotrophs, and that this whole idea of like having a personal identity and having like a right to your agency and autonomy is a little bit ridiculous, and he likes to poke fun at Ayn Rand's sort of idea of like rigid kind of individualism, and he kind of makes the statement that the lockdown made us very aware of the fact that we all share a kind of common enemy, which is the people that really want to refuse the fact that we're all connected. That is the people that want to go to Mars, the people that want to go into the metaverse or virtual reality. This should be greeted with utmost suspicion. And he raises a lot of other very interesting points. I would definitely recommend this book. Next, I have Zizek's Surplus Enjoyment. I really like the cover of this. This book was very, very much a journey. Zizek's style of writing is extremely whimsical. He starts with one point and then kind of just starts talking about a movie, and then he'll start talking about genitalia and certain political hot topics, and you kind of end up forgetting exactly where you landed. And a lot of the book does kind of reflect this sort of writing style. However, the reason why I got that book was the main sort of point is surplus enjoyment, this sort of pleasure or enjoyment we feel that involves experiencing more enjoyment than we possibly can actually experience, is the sort of ethos of capitalism and consumerism. And capitalism is kind of a system that most perfectly reflects and satisfies our desires. So he's really using like Lacanian psychoanalysis to make these points. I thought that's a very interesting thesis. And I also think that when people criticize him for never really proposing any solutions, I think when he talks about subjective destitution in this book, and when he kind of early on makes some very broad arguments about certain collective political action that everyone should engage in, I feel like this is him at his most kind of activist or most normative, where he's actually proposing certain things to do. So I would also overall recommend this book. I thought it was quite fun. If you're into reading kind of difficult texts that are constantly citing different things and are kind of going off track and stuff like that, it might frustrate you if you're really just wanting to sit down and hear specific points made in a concrete structural argument. But I'd recommend it. This one is going to be very relevant, not just because the book or the movie came out recently with Adam Driver, but Don DeLillo's White Noise also scarily reflects the Ohio train derailment. The book very much circles around this fictional event that takes place where I think a truck carrying really toxic chemicals crashes, and there's an airborne toxic event. And it's kind of how the citizens of this town deal with this sort of sudden imposition of death on their lives. And it very much is a dialogue, a sort of fictional dialogue with Ernest Becker's Denial of Death, and how a lot of consumerist kind of activities we engage in, as well as chatter and discussion that we engage in, especially nowadays it would be online, but he wrote this in the 80s. It's very much in the service of denying the fact that no matter what, we're going to die. I would say the writing style is very, 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 very unique. The characters are very interesting, and the dialogue is quite fun, and I would very much recommend this. And I do think that the movie overall did a pretty good job of reflecting the how you could somehow visually capture this book, but it's not easy. It's a very, very weird book. So I've been actually rereading this. I was doing a YouTube short kind of TikTok on what might be Bell Hook's idea of what Tinder could be like. And it has like this book has very kind of concrete, very beautiful tips for people that are curious about exploring romantic love and what that really means, especially from a sort of feminist standpoint. And I think it does a good job of kind of combating the sort of defeatism or skepticism that progressive movement and feminist movements sometimes have with regards to romanticism and the idea of love. And it's a classic, and I would recommend it Then on that note, I've also been reading Feminisms, A Global History by Lucy Delap. And this book's not really making like a really like argumentative philosophical take. It's more to supplement my lack of knowledge in the category of feminism and feminist history, because there's like a million different definitions of it, a million different kind of sub-movements, and feminism is kind of just used as like a political talking point nowadays to dismiss kind of a monolithical group or of thought. And this book very much makes the case that feminism, and she uses feminisms to really underscore the fact that it is anything but monolithic. And there is kind of this running theme in the book where she's talking about the inherent contradiction of a lot of feminist history, where it very much wants to deal with the subordinate position of women in comparison to men throughout history, but at the same time has time and time again done this at the exclusion of other groups or other identities, or has failed to be entirely inclusive in that regard, and can sometimes even lead to some level of damage. And I think it's just like a very interesting book overall, if you're interested in gender studies, if you're confused about what feminism is, for people that are critical of it or also want to expand their knowledge in that area. And then I've been reading a lot of this guy's books. This is Byung-Chul Han. He shows up in a decent amount of my videos, probably not only because I like his ideas, but his books are very quick to read. They're usually less than 100 pages, and he tends to condense other people's thoughts into very quick summaries, and I would almost consider him writing style-wise as like the anti-Zizek, where he almost speaks in thesis statements. Like each sentence is an entire idea, and it constructs like a larger argument. So he doesn't waste words at all. And this book, Infocracy, is about the fact that the almost parasitic spread of information and data has come at the expense of discursive, communicative action and overall democratic integrity. So it does talk a lot about echo chambers and online spaces, as well as how government surveillance kind of dictates real-life behavior. And I'm in the middle of reading that. I've also been reading his other book, The Disappearance of Rituals, which I quite like. I think it's my favorite of his. It makes the argument that rituals have an important symbolic component to creating communal bonds, and nowadays we don't participate in rituals, and we're very skeptical of them, and even things that we would kind of consider as rituals, such as like concerts or something, they're very different. They're seen as like events and not as sort of repetitive practices that lead to something that he sees as very important, which is the idea of lingering. That instead of kind of just consuming information and consuming experiences, we linger. And it's a very, I think, simple but pretty powerful statement that he's making with this book. And then I've been reading Murakami's IQ 84. I'm only about 100 pages in. It's a 1,000-page book. It's interesting, definitely. He writes in a very, very kind of entertaining style, and he really pushes the story quickly, and you never really know what's going to happen next. This is the first book that I've read of his also. Overall, it's a very entertaining read. I don't think I've gotten far enough into like the book to really understand exactly what it's trying to say. However, and I'm not the only one to bring this up, whenever a woman is introduced, he will describe her body in the most kind of pornographic way possible, and it'll go on for like a really, really long time. Kind of, it just feels really redundant, and I don't know if it serves like a larger purpose in his writing style or anything, but I feel like some of it could get cut. I don't know. You guys let me know if you've also read Murakami, if you have similar thoughts, or maybe you really enjoy these sections, but he does seem a little bit kind of distracted sometimes when he's describing women. And then I've been reading Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet, and I really, really like this book. I think it's a bit of a cheesy title and everything, but it's kind of a guide to active Buddhism and how that plays a role in especially concerns such as climate change. It kind of serves I think a unique purpose nowadays, because I think there's a renewed interest in mindfulness and Buddhism in general, but there's also kind of this idea of just using mindfulness for stress management and kind of accepting conflict, whereas this book really makes the case that Buddhism can be applicable to action, to actually like solving things and sort of changing the planet. I think also another very interesting part of the book was the discussion of interbeing, which I also saw brought up in another book I've read recently, Gabor Mate's Myth of Normal, where he kind of links it to interpersonal neurobiology. Just the idea that we're all kind of connected to everything, and this goes beyond claims of like humanism, where like everybody is basically humans, which has had somewhat problematic implications historically speaking, and is kind of seen as somewhat outdated. This goes beyond that and links us also to nature and the environment, and the fact that we are all kind of related chemically and biologically to all of these things that aren't us, like all of these kind of non-me elements that for a short time make up me. Funnily enough, it also links back to Bruno Latour's book, After Lockdown. Both of these books kind of consider the self as a sort of wave that is like briefly ridden on this larger ocean. And it's sometimes hard to distinguish between the ocean and the wave, but it's important to remember that the difficulty in distinguishing between those is further proof of the kind of connection that everyone has to everything else. Those are all of the books that I've been reading. You guys let me know which books you've been reading, and thanks for watching. This video was sponsored by Tiege Hanley. Remember to check the link in the description below.